Welcome back to CryptosRus. I'm George. We're all George. So, welcome to another market open stream. What is going to happen today, especially when a historic bottom signal has been flashed for Bitcoin? Yes, a key indicator signals the bottom for Bitcoin. Is this correct? Is this accurate? Well, let's talk about it, and let's talk about what else is going on in the world today. There's a lot to talk about, and the market bell is about to ring. So let's do this. Welcome, welcome, welcome. There you go. That's the market bell. The best bell in the industry, and I still have not replaced the battery in this bell for like, I don't know how many years. It just keeps on going. Never stops. Anyways, the market is looking like it wants to go green once again. Okay, early place. Thank you for that big super chat. It is good for DCA. Yeah, this whole week, Monday, yesterday, today, all looking green. Stocks are roaring up despite the fact we have a lot of scary things going on. Obviously, we have the new war that's going on. We have oil going up as well. And there's still fears about another rate hike. So, but, you know, that's the weird thing. Despite all of this, markets are rallying. Okay, so we're going to get some inflation data. Today, we're going to get PPI inflation. But tomorrow is the big one, the CPI inflation reading, right? That's really going to determine whether or not Powell needs to hike up the rates once again, right? Although many people are begging him not to do so, right? But if inflation, I mean, we ticked up last month for inflation. If we keep ticking up, which probably we will, especially with oil now starting to come up, we may get another rate hike, which really would suck. But, of course, we got the FOMC minutes today, right? That'll be released. Basically, kind of looking at what was discussed behind closed doors last time. I don't even know why we have this thing. It still bothers me that we still have this FOMC minutes report that gets released a month after the fact. Why can't they release that just like hours after the meeting, right? It's not like they need to stuff it with more stuff. It's just basic notes of what was discussed before. So why is this practice that it gets released a month afterwards and then it could disrupt markets once again? It makes no sense. It really doesn't. If you think about it, why not just release it hours after his press conference? Don't know. I don't know. Maybe one of you guys have answered that. It makes no sense to me. But anyways, that's coming today. Tomorrow CPI, and tomorrow we're going to get jobless claims. Let's see if unemployment starts going up. Hopefully not. We're seeing the job market soften big time. Less than half the expected jobs for last month. Let's hope that jobless claims, the unemployment rate, does not go up, right? So we'll see. We got a lot of stuff to look forward to in the next 2 days. Also, we got this to look forward to. Not really. Just to remind you guys that, yeah, the U.S. debt situation is only getting worse, okay? Worse and worse and worse. I showed this before. Just the other day, we added about $275 billion in debt in a single day. We are on pace to go up by trillions within months. In fact, yeah, I mean, it just keeps going up and up and up. And there are some months where we go up by more than $1 trillion. Right? We're getting closer and closer to 34 trillion in debt. Don't tell me that's not going to end badly. Okay? I know I've been talking about a lot, but this is important. This is important. You can't tell me when we're getting $1 trillion of debt per month, right? That's not going to eventually come back to haunt us, right? I guess, so to speak. It is. So right now with the war, it's going to get worse. It's, I don't know how many billions, hundreds of billions that will be allocated to Israel, obviously with the new conflict. But yeah, there's going to be a lot more. There's going to be a lot more debt that'll be accruing, and it's no good. It's no good. And it all ties into inflation, right? Like the elephant in the room about inflation is no one wants to talk about the fact that inflation was the main driver of inflation was the printing, not everything else, right? Powell in his speeches and everyone else keeps trying to blame, Russia and supply chain, manufacturing of China and all these things as the root cause for inflation. But they don't address the fact that inflation, why we had inflation, was truly due to the 6 trillion or 8 trillion that was printed and forgiven out of thin air. That's why we have inflation, right? Everything else is just like, they're catalysts, but they go away, right? Like, that's not the true cause, but no one talks about it. And this will only add to more printing and more inflation, because how are we going to pay the interest on this debt, right? Issuing more bonds, or we have to turn up the money printer, right? Otherwise, we can't repay these debts at all. We can't even afford to pay back the interest, let alone the debt. Think about that, okay? We don't even make enough as a country to pay just the interest of this. Just take a second to think about that. Anyways, moving forward, that's why we have Bitcoin, right? That's why we have Bitcoin. So the RSI signals it is time to buy Bitcoin now. What is that key indicator? It's RSI, very simple one. I know Bitcoin's showing a little weakness today, down to 27,000, right? But overall, is it really weakness or we're just going sideways? I would argue we are going sideways, right? Short term, like I've been saying, there may be some volatility. Short term, there's always some volatility. There's always some reason. Some whale decides to dump, it goes down, right? FTX decides to dump, it's going to go down, right? When there's worries about an implosion of USDC or USDT, it's going to come down. But long term, it's looking just fine. In fact, better than fine. So let me remove my camera here. This is what I want to show you guys. Just take a look on the very bottom, what's circled there. And, this is one of the most basic indicators out there for charts. RSI measures whether or not Bitcoin is oversold or overbought. Okay, right now, you could see same point as the previous times, right? Before Bitcoin started heading upwards. We are in oversold. Yeah, we're oversold. It's really it, right? So, we got these key indicators. This is on a shorter time frame, obviously, right? But on a longer time frame, well, you guys know, when in doubt, zoom out. I don't have a fancy long-term chart today. I just have Cramer, okay? This is also a historic key indicator. I don't know about historic. I made that up. But Cramer is a key indicator. And I found this clip for you guys. Let's play it, because everyone loves to hear what Cramer has to say.
I just can't get on I can't be in something where Mr. Bitcoin is about to go down big. I just can't get on I can't be in something where Mr. Bitcoin is about to go down big.
Yeah, so I guess this is the ultimate key indicator. When Cramer is very adamant about something, especially about Bitcoin and crypto overall. Again, I don't have the graph that shows inverse Cramer all the times he's tweeted or shitted on Bitcoin on air. If you look at every single time, they're bottom indicators, including when Bitcoin was at 16,000 and he was going on air saying that it's going to go much lower to zero. That was actually exactly the point that Bitcoin started rising up. Okay, so if Mr. Cramer right now is very bearish, even on gold and Bitcoin, does that mean this is a bottom indicator? Well, if you're a betting man, yes, because he's more wrong about these things than right. And this comes right after Paul Tudor Jones, who is a very famous macro investor in Wall Street, worth billions, self-made billionaire. This comes right after the fact that Paul Tudor Jones just said to stock up on gold and Bitcoin because he believes a recession is near, right? So who's right, Paul Tudor Jones or Jim Cramer? I'm going to bet on Paul, right? So, yeah, let's move on. Oh, here's one. This is what I was looking for. One of those longer cycle charts, right? So I showed you guys RSI, right? Short term is signaling a reversal, right? But just look at this. Long term, when in doubt, zoom out, right? Here's another signal, right? There's a lot of support lines. And generally speaking, going all the way back, not generally speaking, it is fact. If you look at all these support lines, right? Every single time when Bitcoin is recovering from bottom, it tests and tests and tests that support line. And sometimes it drops below it. No, I take that back. Every time it drops below it, and then it goes up on a parabolic run. Okay, so that's where we are. That's where we are, right? We drop slightly below that support line. But it looks very similar to all previous times when afterwards, shortly afterwards, we go on a parabolic run. And that makes sense because, again, we're getting closer and closer to the end of this year. Traditionally speaking, November and December are the most bullish months of any year. And then, of course, 2024 with Bitcoin ETFs, with the halving event, right? This all lines up. It's following the plan, right? And I don't think we're going to deviate from this, no matter what. Even short-term volatility, I just got done talking about, short-term volatility may exist, but long-term, Bitcoin is not going anywhere and will continue to go upwards and form a new high, and who knows where it will end. It's really, that simple. Lightning Network for Bitcoin also grew by 1,200% in 2 years. I know I talk a lot about Bitcoin just being the ultimate store of value, but with Lightning Network, Bitcoin is also the ultimate payment rail. It's the ultimate medium of exchange too, right? With Lightning Network, vendors, businesses, retail investors, average Joes, institutions can utilize it and basically make payments around the world almost instantly with near zero fees. That's what the Lightning Network brings, right? The Strike app is built on Lightning Network. And that's why it's growing by leaps and bounds. In 2 years, look at a transaction grew from 500,000 to over 6 million. And it's only going to go up from here, right? So again, anything that you can measure Bitcoin with, doesn't matter if it's the network or the miners or the holders, the addresses, right? They're all exchange reserves. They're all at all-time highs. And that's awesome, except the exchange reserves, all-time low, basically, close to it. The fundamentals of Bitcoin, it's just awesome. It just keeps getting better. And that's why you can't be bearish on Bitcoin right now. You just can't, okay? All right, what else is there? Outside of Bitcoin, Blackrock, right? Obviously, everyone's waiting for a Blackrock ETF, spot Bitcoin ETF to get approved, and it will. And most likely Gary Gensler, after he resigns or get thrown out, will be working for BlackRock. But right now, I guess they're working with JP Morgan on their new Onyx. Yeah, Onyx blockchain, which also has near instant collateral transfer, right? So that sounds like a competitor to XRP Ledger, right? So yeah, JP Morgan, they've been experimenting with the blockchain for quite a long time, right? And it's kind of funny that Jamie Dimon, the CEO of JP Morgan, is still shitting on Bitcoin, and not just that, all crypto in general. So yeah, just think about that. He's shitting on everything, yet his own firm has a blockchain, has a coin, and is already utilizing it for transfers between banks and countries. That doesn't make a whole lot of sense, right? So think about it. Once upon a time, Jamie Dimon actually came out and said, if I catch anyone even talking about Bitcoin in my firm, they get fired. But you know what? JP Morgan also has a wealth division. And they actually recommend people to buy Bitcoin. So again, how does that make sense? It doesn't. But you gotta be careful with any of these guys, with any of the leaders, I guess, from banks or financial institutions, because they're gonna say one thing, but really they're doing something else behind the scenes, right? All right, now there is another bank that seems to be very pro crypto. Standard Chartered. They're making a lot of bold predictions. They say Ether could reach 8,000 by the end of 2026. They may have forgotten that the parabolic year ends in 2025, and usually things go down afterwards, right? But no matter. Standard Chartered thinks that Ethereum's going to be at 8,000, right? Which is a major climb from where it is now, obviously. Slightly higher than the previous high. But, in 2025, Ether could be a lot higher than 8,000. It could be well above 10,000, maybe even 15,000, depending on how high Bitcoin goes. And Standard Chartered, their CEO also thinks that Bitcoin could go to 150, 200,000. I forgot what he said. But they're actually very pro Bitcoin and crypto, which is great. Why can't JP Morgan be like this, right? Why can't they just turn pro? Because I think Jamie Dimon is in that position like Peter Schiff, where he's known as a Bitcoin bear, and he can't just flip. I think that's the reason why, right? But we have some leaders that are not, beating around the bush. They're just coming out and saying, we love it. We love it. We love to be part of it, because they understand. All right. And speaking of the other ETH killer, I guess, Solana. There is a VC that says Solana is like iOS and Ethereum is like Android. I'm going to heavily disagree with that. I don't think that's the case at all. Okay? As much as people love Solana, and I know there's a lot of people that love Solana, right? And I have nothing against them, but if you look at their history, they act way more like Android than Ethereum. They had plenty of outages, a lot more than any other chain, right? And they keep trying to make improvements and so forth, right? Kind of like Android, trying to catch up. Now, Ethereum has its own problems, obviously, right? But Ethereum is the big daddy, is kind of started it all, kind of like iOS, who's kind of started the smartphone craze, right? So I would say it's the reverse. That Solana is more like Android, and there's nothing wrong with that. I'm an Android user. I like Android. Android is more robust. They're easier to change, right? They're not as locked by Apple. But people love Apple. People love iOS because of the ecosystem that Apple has created. It's just really easy to use, and people can't get out of that, right? There's nothing wrong with either. But I would say the parallels, it should be flipped around. Solana is more like Android, and Ethereum is more like iOS, in my opinion. And there's of course, there's other competitors like Polygon, who's kind of up there. I don't know what I would make Polygon, or how to categorize Polygon, but nevertheless, they have a lot of chains going on. Their POS chain, their ZK chain, right? And now they're proposing a L2 chain called Ape Chain to help ApeCoin, who currently rides on top of Ethereum, right? Polygon's just all over the place right now. They want to create 1 million chains for everyone. So we'll see. We'll see if ApeCoin takes, or Yuga Labs, who's behind ApeCoin. We'll see if they're agreeable to that. And then lastly, Immutable X, who has a partnership with Polygon. They team up with AWS to grow Web3 gaming. That's great, but they're not the only ones. Avalanche has a partnership with AWS, and I forgot who else. Who else has a lot of projects seem to have partnership with AWS, right? So it's good. Basically, I think with these kind of partnerships, you know, you could just spin up like a node, right? I know you could spin up like an Ethereum node too in AWS, and there's a lot of nodes that you could spin up. But yeah, that's pretty much it. All right. Today's not bad. Not bad. You know, I haven't checked the stock market in a long time. Tesla's up to 266. Where's Coinbase at? Coinbase at 78. That's not too bad. What about Mara? I think Mara is down. Whoa, man. Mara is down 5% today. No idea why. All right. Let's overall market about the same, a little bit weaker than yesterday. All right, let's do some Q&A. Jan, George, who does the United States owe money to? We always talk about rising debt. Is it a debt to who? Whoever holds bonds. Okay. Before I never understood this. Like, when the U.S. goes into debt, who are they borrowing money from? How did they borrow money in the first place? Did they go to another country and say we need to borrow money? No, they sell bonds. By selling bonds, it's an IOU to pay them back. So other countries like Japan, I think is the largest bondholder of U.S. China's up there. A lot of other countries hold billions upon billions of U.S. Treasury notes, aka bonds, right? That's who we owe. Not only do we have to pay them interest, but we also have to pay them back eventually, right? You know, the notes or bonds are like 2-year, 5-year, 10-year, 20-year, 30-year. So when it matures, you have to pay it back, right? And if you can't pay it back or you can't pay interest, that's when our credit rating goes down. And if the credit rating goes down, then it's less likely for future participants to be buying, right? And that has started happening. The U.S. credit rating has started coming down already. So we're kind of in a position where we're lucky that the dollar is still the reserve currency, that others, because of what they're suffering with their currencies, they're willing to buy dollars, basically lend money to the U.S. by holding on treasuries, right? But if the dollar one day isn't a reserve currency or is no longer wanted because all trade and oil, you know, sales are done with Chinese yuan, for example, right? Then no one's going to be buying U.S. Treasury bonds. And then we will not be able to borrow money. And if we can't borrow money, then what are we going to do? We're going to print more money. And when we print more money, what does that lead to? Higher inflation, right? So I'm breaking it down like as simple as I can. And to my understanding, of course, it's a little bit more complex than that, I think. But ultimately, that's what it comes down to. The U.S. has basically 3 ways to make money. Taxes from us and corporations, issuing more bonds to borrow money, and spinning in a money printer and printing more money. These are the only 3 ways the U.S. makes money. All right. Let's see if I missed anything. Min. No. No, it's not going to be an influencer pillow fight. No. What are your thoughts on Arthur Hayes' prediction on BlackRock will control and take over BTC? You know, that's a valid thought. I don't know. BlackRock likes to take over things, right? But it's hard to take over something like Bitcoin because it's distributed, it's worldwide. It's not just like US based, right? It reminds me of a story that someone told me about oh shoot. Who was the famous railroad oil guy? Carnegie? Yeah, shoot. I should know this, but it reminds me of a story. I think it's Carnegie. Someone that was, you know, the wealthiest person in the United States before that was trying to buy up all the oil rigs and try to control oil for himself. And the harder he tried, the more he realized it was impossible because there will be always someone else coming up with Rockefeller. Yes, that's right. That there will always be someone else coming out with a new oil rig for him to buy. And they would keep jacking up the price to the point where he realized that he just couldn't take over every single oil rig in the United States, right? I think BlackRock's will come into that situation. If they really tried and tried to buy all the Bitcoins that there are in existence, right? They're going to find resistance because a lot of the miners hold enormous amounts that they will not sell, right? A lot of long-term holders will not sell, right? Exchanges will always try to keep a little bit to themselves. Otherwise, they go out of business too. So, you know, they may try to, you know, manipulate and control things, but I think they won't be able to do so with Bitcoin because it's already too distributed across the world. We'll see. But I think that's a valid thought. Carolina says, I like how people still talk about outages with Solana. Old news, it's been fixed a year ago. You know, you can't discount it that quickly, Carolina, because it wasn't just one. Last year, there was like 6 outages. And the year before that, there was like 6 outages, right? So just because it hasn't happened in a year while there's still low volume doesn't mean that it has been fixed permanently. Okay, so don't be so cocky with your assessment of Solana. I hope they can be stable for a long time, like Bitcoin, for example, right? But don't just dismiss it outright, thinking that it's all good and fixed. Right now, keep in mind, volume on all the chains are extremely low versus bull run periods, right? Wait until the bull run comes, and then we'll see, right? Then we'll talk. The install investor, I do what I can, right? I'm not going to debate with trolls, obviously, but, you know, if it's a legit question, I'll try to answer it. And I'm not saying I have all the answers. I don't know everything, but I've been in this space long enough, and I've seen a few things. If you call it the influencer battle league, then you could do fights are wrestling people video games. I mean, yeah, but you know, it'll be more legit if some league actually, you know, a real league, you know, participates, right? Like, if I was doing arm wrestling, I don't know if Karate Combat wants arm wrestling all of a sudden to be happening in their stage. I could ask them. I think that would be pretty cool. I think arm wrestling is legit. Because people who know how to arm wrestle, you know, they could beat people that's in another weight class, right? And then you don't have to worry about the weight class as much. Because really good arm wrestlers, even if they're at like 160 pounds, could beat someone that's 260 in arm wrestling. So I think that would be pretty cool. As for other things, I don't know. It's going to be too hard. Real chance that if you dismiss possibility of all-time high in 2024, you're going to get wrecked waiting for even higher high in 2025. It makes no sense that the peak will come in 2024. It could happen. Anything could happen. We could have a cycle that's very different than previous cycles. You're right. But you would have to present me a real, valid argument why 2024 will be peak and not 2025. That we will lose out on one full year of a cycle when all previous cycles before we did not have that happen. So if you could present a valid argument or arguments, then I'll listen to it. But right now, I don't think that's the case. Will you stream the fight on YouTube? Yes. It's not just going to be me. Me and other influencers will live stream, but you can watch the fight on Karate Combat or karate.com. You can stream it from their web page, and I believe the fight will be televised on ESPN. Probably not ESPN, but I believe they have television rights with a lot of the other TV networks. Bob, I thought about that, and I don't think Ben will allow that. Out of respect, I won't even ask them. But I thought about it. That's the one fight that I think everyone want to watch. Still, his next video will be coming out, I think, shortly. He said, his first one took a while to do, but he says his next one will be coming out soon on CRU Plus. So I'll ask him about it. Yeah. So he should have another video this week. Josh is going to have another video this week. Hopefully we can also get Jeb's first video, maybe this weekend or early next week. So CRU Plus will be on a roll. And plus all the behind-the-scenes stuff for the influencer fights, they're all going to be on CRU Plus. I might be flying out to all these places, visiting these guys, right? Not probably. I will. And, we'll do some cool videos. Okay. I got 7 fights. Lined up right now. Verbally agreed, right? Until we sign a contract. It's not going to be 100%, but yeah, these guys are all pretty serious about it. I don't know if I could get an 8th one. But yeah, right now it's confirmed 7. I have not revealed who they are. And I'm doing that on purpose. right? Go build some suspense, build some drama. I got big plans. No, I think I don't know who's gonna do a MC. Maybe a loudmouth. You know, he seems to be a perfect person for that role. I don't know who the commentators are. Wendy might be a commentator. Maybe Allcoin Daily could be a commentator. They both express interest in that. Yeah. It's going to be sometime in February. End of February or early March. So, yeah. Bass Rutten will probably be there. He's an ambassador for Karate Combat. Yeah, he's been on Rogan's show talking about Karate Combat. I think he's gonna be there. So how this is gonna structure how this is structured is Karate Combat's gonna have their normal fight, like I think like 6 to 10, right? So this will be one of their main events, and then the influencers will fight afterwards, like. Or like, I forgot, it's like, yeah, or 10 to 12, or like 8 to 10, or whatever. So it's going to be right off the heels of a main event. So the crowd will be there, everyone else that's there, like Bass or any of the coaches, the fighters, they'll be there. So this will be legit. This is not like a fight in the backyard or in a garage somewhere or some gym. This will be in their ring, with thousands of people watching. Karate Combat gets anywhere, they was telling me, anywhere from 1 to 5,000 people watching. I mean, this is real. You go see the fighters in their app, you go see them on the website, right? I mean, it's going to be wild. It's going to be absolutely wild. Moonwalker, super chat questions barely get read now. That's why there's significant drop compared to previous streams. Okay, according to you. You do it better than me, and then I'll learn from you, my man. You know, it's like you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. If I only answer super chat questions, people will complain, oh, well, you only answer super chat questions when people pay you. So if I spend more time not answering super chat questions, then people like you say, oh, you're not answering super chat questions. Just shut the fuck up, all right? In fact, I'm just going to ban you because you just pissed me off. Like, there's seriously way too many idiots out there. Dude, sometimes I just can't control myself. Like seriously. You know, people are not in the position I am in, and I'm not trying to sound arrogant, but you know, it's like seriously, you try to be nice with everyone, you try to, you know, cover all sides, and then you got people that are just they just don't understand, and yeah, anyways. All right. On that note, it's time to go. Anyways, I'm very excited about the fights. You know, spending a lot of time. In fact, right after this, I'm going to be talking to the Karate Combat guys, trying to solidify some things. But as for Bitcoin, don't miss the historic bottom because we have several key indicators showing that. So stay strong, my friends. I'll see you guys tonight 8:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. All right? Have a good one. Take care. Bye-bye.